So this is an update video on the hardwood propagation with bottom heat system that I set up in our garage. I'm going to link here to the first video where I describe in detail what this is all about. So if you haven't watched that yet, check that out first. And I'm just looking at the tags on these. We're a little over 1 month since I built this or got this set up and stuck all these cuttings, and I thought after 1 month I'd like to review how things worked, what didn't, some issues that I'm seeing, so let's take a look. So definitely, overall, I'm going to say I'm very excited with the results. This is a cutting 1 month later. Now this is blackcurrant. The elders did some really good work as well. Blackcurrant tends to root really well anyway, but for 1 month at the beginning of spring during a cold season, this is an awful lot of roots. Now I could take each of these cuttings and put them into a gallon pot with really rich, loose potting mix. I'll link again to a video where I talk about how we pot things up for the nursery. So these could be ready for sale in mid-May. But for the most part, what I'm going to do is plant these out into loose, rich soil in the garden and give them an entire season to really grow. When I do that, I end up with plants that are almost 3 feet tall. Very valuable plants. And people are generally very pleasantly surprised that when they buy those plants next season, they're actually at an age where they're going to flower profusely and probably make a big crop of fruit. So I'm willing to wait a little bit on most of these, but pretty much every one of these blackcurrants struck roots. The issue that I definitely want to share with folks is that when I set this up, and again in the first video I talk about this in greater detail, I use sand at the bottom. It's a very coarse, it's called filter sand, and that's where the heating cable is buried. When I stuck these cuttings, I pushed them into the sand. That was dumb, because now I'm trying to get them out and they're rooted in the peat and perlite. They come out like fluff. From the sand, I'm ripping a fair amount of roots. So I really need to get these out of here before they leaf out much more. I'm excavating from the sides and gently pulling them out, but either way, oh, every time I pull one, I'm ripping some roots. I definitely damaged what was down there. So in the future, I need more peat and perlite. Let me set that. That's a Marge elderberry. You can see I'm going through and lifting them by blocks and then heeling them back in loosely. Tomorrow they'll go out to their destination in the garden. That's a lot of damage for the roots. I'm bummed about it. In the future, peat and perlite, thicker layer, and the cuttings that I stick, let's say this is a cutting, will go in, but not to push it into the sand. That's the lesson learned. I'll keep going through here. I've done some preliminary gentle tuggings of sea buckthorn and honeyberry, which were 2 varieties of really high value, amazing crops that I want to figure out how to crack the code on propagating. They seem to be rooting well. And once I get them out, I'll take a picture or two and show you how those roots look. But I got to work systematically through the whole bed. So I've got an evening of work lifting rooted plants. It's worked. It's got some issues, but I'd still really stand behind it 1 month later as a great system. So hopefully it's useful to you, and I hope you have a great growing season. Thanks for watching. One last note. I'm getting close to finishing up with this bed, and I'm into the seaberry. It's a variety called Orange Energy. The bluebird honeyberries, which I just finished up, I should have taken some pictures. They're all green, they're looking good on the tops, but they have almost no roots. So I'm going to set them out in a shady position in the garden and keep them watered and mulched and see if they don't want to root on their own throughout the season. But not incredibly promising so far. I'll come back to them with softwood. Seaberry, interestingly, they're making roots for sure. Crazy fragile, long little scrawners popping out. And also interestingly, the ones that have the least amount of greening on the top are producing the most roots, which you might think is, oh, they're dead, but I will plant these out. I got to be very careful with the little roots popping off of these. Get them planted out in full sun and watered and mulched and see what they'll do over the summer. It's promising. I still have the rest of this block to go through. They're going to be revisited with softwood cuttings, but then also to take softwood cuttings and put them in spring water with a bubbler. I've read that that's supposed to work well. Really got to figure out the seaberry thing. There's such a demand for them, and so far they're not that easy to propagate. Alright, there's the rest, and that's that. Thank you for watching.